Hello all. Today's class is on nutrition in old age, or it's also called as geriatric nutrition. So we'll be discussing what the geriatric population is, what are the factors affecting food intake and the nutrient use, nutrient needs, and diet planning for the elderly. So elderly or old age consists of ages nearing or surpassing the average lifespan of human beings. That's like around 72 to 75 years. The Government of India adopted the National Policy on Older Persons in January of 1999. The policy defines senior citizen or elderly as a person who is of age 60 years or above. So we have seen they have a lot of reservations and etc. So in like for example train tickets and then there are senior citizen reservation is there, right? So mostly this is the policy defines senior citizen or elderly as a person who is above 60 years of age. Now the elderly can be divided into three categories, that is the young old, the middle aged old, and the oldest old, that is 60 to 70, 70 to 80, and the oldest old is above the age of 80. Now, the increase in life expectancy over the years has resulted in an increase in the population of elderly. Now, we have seen in nowadays, it's like a lot of people are there who is above the age of 60 years. That is like they are not very extremely productive as a young generation. But because of the fact that there is a higher life expectancy, the old people have it's increased now. Because earlier people used to die at a younger age comparatively, but now people are living to a good age. While the overall population of India will grow only by 40% between 2006 and 2050, the population of those age 60 and above will increase by 270%. So there's a huge increase because especially now because this generation, like those who are 60 70 years now, they might in India, like when we see our parents generation or our grandparents generation, we know that they were like many children were there, like maybe 8 9 children were there in one home itself. So if all of them have a lifespan of 70 or 80, then naturally the old age population is going to be really high comparatively, that compared to the other generations, like for example the generation of 2000 or 90s kids or 80s children, they were like they in their family they were just two children or maybe three children or maybe maximum four children or even five, but very rarely the average number of children nowadays is 2 to 3. Okay, so that is why the old age population, the present people who are old age now, their numbers are really great, and if they are having a good life expectancy, means the population of people aged 60 and above will have a great increase. So by 2021, the elderly will number like 143 million. This was a report in 2015. So we need to have the current data. So it's like around a huge number is there. Now, successful aging is defined not by longevity, means how long you live, but also by sufficient well-being in multiple domains, socially, physically, mentally. Because some people might live through 100, 110, etc. But what happens is they will not be, very. They will have lot of issues health-wise, physically, mentally, socially. So, successful aging means, you should have you should be engaged in activities, maintain high physical and cognitive function, good memory, etc. So old age is best defined as the age of retirement or 60 years and above. So improvement in healthcare technology has enhanced life expectancy. Now, aging, of course, is a normal process which begins at conception and ends with death. So all of us, it's something which is irreversible. You can't do anything about it. You age, that's a universal truth. We can't do anything about it. So the goal of nutritional care should be to help the aged to achieve a healthy, purposeful, and independent living. Now, what is the process of aging? Now, with age and in disease conditions, lot of defenses, your body starts to weaken, your metabolic rate decreases, the antioxidant defenses are lowered, Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E get excessively utilized and there is a state of deficiency. It also brings about physiological, psychological, and immunological changes which influence the nutritional status. So the changes can be attributed to genetics. It could be about race. It could be about gender. Sometimes women have more problems while aging compared to men in our country. Like especially problems related to osteoporosis, knee pain, back pain, etc. are commonly seen more in women compared to men. Then men have other issues like heart diseases, etc. are more common among men. So it depends on gender, then genetics. Some places they fare really good. Like European countries and all, even if they are like 70, 80 plus and all, they are quite healthy. Some European countries, so their life expectancy is good. Their aging is there's not a much of a problem for some people. But for some cultures, they have a very degenerative aged population. Now, a lot of changes happen during aging. Let's see which all of them. Taste and smell. Of course, as you age, there is decreased taste buds and papillae on the tongue. So naturally, they don't have much of ability to detect sweet, salt, palatability, causing poor food intake. So their food intake decreases because they are not finding food tasty. They might complain, like old people. If you have old people in your home, they might complain that, oh, your the food is not tasty as olden days. But what happens actually is their taste buds have diminished or has lowered capacity, but instead they think that it's because the food is not tasty. They might tell the stories of in good old days, this fish tasted like this, this the rice was so tasty. Now it's nothing, everything is bad, everything is corrupt, adulterated, etc. They might say such things, but actually the problem is with their sensory stimulations. Now, coming to salivary glands, there is decrease in salivary secretion. They will suffer from xerostomia, that is dry mouth and all. So they will have difficulty in chewing, swallowing, etc. So they might avoid certain foods which are like crunchy, dry, sticky foods, etc. because they won't be able to eat. And of course, the teeth is also they will lose their lot of teeth. So they might have to wear dentures or artificial teeth. So they're probably they will have decreased consumption of meat, fresh fruits, vegetables. So what happens is there is an inadequate intake of energy, iron, vitamin C, beta carotene, folic acid, etc. because they are not eating the required amount of vegetables, fruits, meat, etc. because their teeth, their salivary glands, the taste, smell, everything is decreasing. So they don't have much appetite also, because naturally when you eat well when you feel that it's very tasty, right? But when you feel there is no taste in it, you don't feel like eating much. Now, gastric functioning, there is decreased secretion of HCl. We know that HCl is very important for protein digestion. So, like for the action of pepsin, etc. So, when there is decreased secretion of HCl and pepsin, what happens is the protein digestion is very low. It depends. So, there is also less availability of minerals, vitamins, and all. So, the body, even if you eat it, what happens is nothing, like it doesn't get absorbed, it doesn't get digested properly. They might have a lot of problems with digestion, gastric emptying functions, then also constipation. Such problems can occur, which is very common in elderly population. Then there is a rapid rate of emptying of fluids above the 60 years of age. So the fluids, whenever they take in fluids, they might have to frequently urinate, and what happens is there is less absorption of protein bound, vitamin B12, folic acid, etc. because everything is being lost. So there is bacterial overgrowth, small bowel pH. So there is increased bacterial folate synthesis, and it can counteract like with malabsorption. So like there is a lot of malabsorption taking place. Then decreased calcium absorption. Because of decreased calcium absorption, what happens is vitamin D, calcium, so status will decrease. Then coming to the small intestine, there is decreased secretion of enzymes like lactase. Then there is problem of constipation. So there are a lot of problems associated with like lactase is needed for milk digestion and all, right? So when the milk, calcium, etc. are not digested, there is a chance for developing osteoporosis. Then liver and biliary function, there also there is decreased size of the liver and blood flow decreases. Because of that, the albumin synthesis also decreases. Then there are structural biochemical changes, and gallbladder becomes very slow in releasing the bile. Because of that, there is a chance for gallbladder stones. Then there is reduced activity of drug metabolizing enzymes. So what happens is, certain drugs, like when you eat any medications, all those medications or any chemical element is being what do you say, metabolized by the liver. Now when the liver function is decreased, what happens is the drugs may not be having the much effect, or it may not be metabolized properly, and what happens is it can lead to lower enzymes also. Then metabolic functions can lead to impaired glucose tolerance. That is, there is a chance for developing diabetes, because the glucose is not well absorbed in the system. Because of that, there is a uh, you know chances for diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. Then decreased metabolic rate, overall metabolic rate is decreasing because of change in body composition, physical activity, change in body proteins, etc. So because of that, you need lesser amount of energy, because the overall metabolism is low compared to a young person. An older person will have less metabolism, that is, their body is not as active as a young or a youth who is involved in many physical activities, etc. Now, coming to the heart, cardiovascular system, the blood vessels become less elastic. Because of that, there is a chance for hypertension. So, when the pressure increases, so blood flow is also difficult. Because of that, a lot of people have blood pressure problems. The neurological function also decreases. People have, memory problems. There is decreased synthesis of serotonin, carnitine, etc. And also certain foods, like we need certain foods like carotenoids, vitamin D, etc. for good memory. So all these are affected. Coming to the immune system, of course immune system declines with age. It's very good if you can supplement with vitamin E, zinc, PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acids, that is omega 3, etc. So all these are very helpful when it comes to immune system. Then psychological factors, definitely there are a lot of problems associated with old age. A lot of people suffer from depression, helplessness, like especially when they are like they don't have any activities, they are completely dependent on their children, they feel very helpless and they feel depressed. Lot of older people, they are suffering from a lot of mental problems. It can affect the appetite, digestion, energy level, weight, well-being overall, because all the psychological issues can have nutritional impacts. Because of that, there are other issues also. Now coming to the nutritional requirements, so energy requirement is low because of the fact that there is decreased basal metabolic rate. Physical activity is low, and also there is change in body composition because of sarcopenia. Sarcopenia means reduced muscle mass and tissue mass. So as a person ages, there is lesser amount of muscles, and also the activity is decreased, metabolism is decreased. So compared to an adult, an older person will need lesser amount of energy. Coming to tissue, proteins also, the decrease in skeletal tissue. So this leads to there is decrease in protein stores. So the protein needs actually is the same as that of adults, and protein needs represent about 11 to 12% of the energy intake. So deficiency can lead to a lot of problems like anemia, edema, lower resistance to infection, etc. So protein is needed, compare like but calories or energy is required in lesser amount. Coming to carbohydrates, in impaired glucose tolerance can lead to hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, and type 2 diabetes. Because of that, there is mostly carbohydrates should meet at least 50% of the energy requirements, but usually you need to avoid all these refined carbohydrates, sugars, etc., because there are chances for developing diabetes and all. So complex carbohydrates like all the cereals with the whole grains, pulses, etc. can be included in the diet. Coming to fat, we need to reduce the intake of saturated fat. Need more of omega 3, omega 6, etc. Because fat, there is actually no need for much fat because caloric needs are lesser. And as the person ages, also there is very little physical activity, and also it's very difficult to digest all these complex fats. Coming to minerals, requirement is more in old age, that is calcium, because a lot of problems are there, that is bone loss, demineralization, osteoporosis. So all this leads to increase in the calcium needs. So, women above 50 years actually need to take a calcium supplement every day because of the fact that, there is a chance for also developing osteoporosis, all this knee pain, back pain, all this, it is due to the fact that calcium reserves or calcium stores are less. Iron deficiency is also quite common in elderly population because of inadequate iron intake, and also iron is not much absorbed, decreased non-heme iron absorption. Then there is problem of achlorhydria, that is lack of hydrochloric acid in the stomach, atrophic gastritis, any infection in the stomach, all this can lead to anemia and iron deficiency. Then if vitamin C intake is not good, then also the iron absorption will not take place, because vitamin C supports iron absorption. So when vitamin C is not taken enough, then iron deficiency can occur. So requirement of iron is around 330 mg per day. Now, zinc deficiency is also common in elderly population, and the elderly population need to take zinc because it's very important for taste sensitivity, wound healing, all that. Even for memory functions and all, zinc is very important. So zinc needs to be taken by the elderly people. Coming to the vitamins, antioxidant vitamins such as vitamin E, beta carotene, all those are very important. Vitamin C is important. Vitamin D is also very important because elderly, they don't have much of exposure to the sun. They'll be mostly indoors. Because of that, vitamin D needs are increased. Folic acid, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, all those are also important because it can protect against cardiovascular diseases, then depression, neurological defects, etc. Then very important thing is water. Sufficient water needs to be given because there are a lot of problems like constipation, then inability to digest foods. All those can be to an extent can be eliminated by drinking ample amount of water. So here you can see the energy content. Energy is like as per the body weight of a person. The person who is engaged in sedentary work, the male who is 45 kg needs to take at least 1664 kilocalories, and their energy or basal metabolic rate is around 1040 only. So you need to take around 600 um, 640, I mean an extra of 600 kilocalories to meet their physical activity needs, etc. You don't need much actually. Then you can see the different amounts depending on the weight of an individual. The calories are given. It is all for sedentary working old age people. What are the different nutritional problems faced by an elderly person? The most common is osteoporosis, obesity is there, neurological dysfunction, anemia, malnutrition, constipation, dehydration, and also degenerative diseases. Osteoporosis is a condition which is associated with loss in bone density, and they become very vulnerable to fractures. For example, when elderly people, they when they have any falls or anything like that, there is tendency that their bones break very easily compared to the other people. Like they will not find it easier for like it might cure very fast quickly for a young child. It might take longer for an adult, and it may take very long, and it can lead to being bedridden, etc., for an elderly person. So vulnerability to fractures is very high. This is because of the fact that there is high rate of calcium resorption. What is resorption? Calcium is taken from the bone to the blood. Okay, that is a reversal is coming. That is usually calcium, for example, when the growing age, what happens is calcium from the blood is being given to the bones, right, for its formation. But in old age, what happens is there is a reversal or calcium resorption is happening from the bones, it is going to the blood. So that is because of that, there is chances that, from the bone, calcium is being lost. Due to decreased number of cells, decrease in thickness of the cortex, increased porosity of bone. The bones become very porous, or there are like a lot of holes. You can see like the microscopic image. If you see, you can see a lot of holes on the bone. So, what are the problems associated with this? Frequent fractures, especially of the vertebra, femur, that is the thigh region, the radius, the hand region, etc. Now, what are the different management of osteoporosis? There is, there's a need for change from the sedentary lifestyle, dietary pattern. There is, you can include more calcium-rich foods, vitamin D-rich foods, then reduction in emotional stress, inclusion of plant-based estrogen, especially it is the most common best source is soya because it reduces menopausal problems and osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is most commonly found in women, especially at the after menopause. Now the next one is obesity. Like especially nowadays, lot of old people like who are retiring from their jobs, etc. They don't have much of activity. So compared to their productive years, and they be resort to becoming obese because they might eat the same amount as they were eating earlier, and they might not have any physical activity, and coupled with emotional disturbance also, they might feel very lonely or helpless, etc. So they might find comfort in eating their favorite foods or eating foods that they were not able to eat earlier. So such things can happen and it can lead to obesity. Then comes neurological dysfunction. So there are like lack of niacin can lead to dementia or loss of memory. Loss of memory is very common. So like a lot of neurotransmitters like choline can lead to problems with nervous system. So central nervous system problems can be due to thiamine deficiency, vitamin B6 deficiency, niacin deficiency, etc. So all this can lead to neurological problems. Then comes anemia, usually due to lack of iron rich foods. Then vitamin B12 deficiency can also lead to anemia. Then low intake of vitamin C, then food taboos, certain the olden people, they might go for a, they might when some people, what happens is, what we usually see is like after a particular age, they might want to stop eating non-vegetarian foods, pulses. They might say that, some certain pulses are very gassy for me, I don't want to take them. So they might completely avoid certain food groups like meat or pulses, etc. So what happens is they might there is a tendency that they can be affected with anemia or iron deficiency, etc. So personal likes and dislikes also contribute to anemia, because they might because old people, what they do is they completely avoid certain foods because they might say that, okay, this is, I don't like it, I don't want to eat it anymore, and they might be very adamant also. So they completely avoid certain foods and it can lead to a lot of problems. Then malnutrition in general is also very common in older population. It could be due to different reasons. It could be due to lack of knowledge, could be due to poverty, not enough money, because after their productive age, if they don't have any pension or any source of income, if they are dependent on their children, or if they don't have children to look after them, naturally there is an age, it is an age where you are going to be very financially dependent. So poverty can lead to malnourishment, then inability to move around, their body is weak. Then chronic diseases after as the immune system is weakened, they might have a lot of diseases. Because of that also, there is chances for malnutrition. Then of course, a lot of they might be taking medications for a lot of diseases like hypertension, blood pressure, I mean, blood sugar, diabetes, and many other problems. Old age people, if you say, they might have a lot of, they will have a big container for their medications itself. They might have a good big, they might be spending a lot of money on medications itself. So all those can lead to malnutrition, nutrition. Then, of course, emotional disturbances due to social isolation. Because earlier they might be very active in the community and all, but now after the age, like after they have aged well, they might have lost their friends, their partner. They might, the if the elderly person is losing their husband or wife, they might feel very lonely, or they might even lose their friends as they age. So all those things can lead to social isolation, so they feel very lonely and helpless and depressed. So that can also lead to malnourishment. Then another very important or common problem is constipation and dehydration. It could be due to low fluid intake and also due to low fiber diet, like because their teeth and everything is very not so good and they're not able to swallow and all. They might not feel like eating vegetables and all. They might eat just maybe rice kanji or certain very simple foods they might take. What happens is the fiber intake will be less, and because of the disturbance in peristaltic movement and natural contraction of the colon, because it could be due to different reasons, like a loss of muscle tone due to stress. It can happen due to medication, any illness. Sometimes they even resist the urge to defecate because they might be sleeping, or they might be lying down and they feel very tired to go and defecate, because and they might just resist the urge. And they might be having different problems like piles or hemorrhoids. Then they might have to use laxatives. Once you start using laxatives, the problem is that you become dependent on it. You might have to use it every time to go to the toilet, like they otherwise they can't, they will be feeling very constipated. Then another thing is lack of exercise. You're not moving around, you'll be sitting in one place or lying down in one place, so that can also lead to constipation. And because of this, they might not be even drinking much water also, because they might be scared that, okay, if I drink a lot of water, I'll have to get up and go to toilet too often. So they might just skip drinking water. So all this can lead to dehydration and constipation. Then degenerative diseases, it could be due to oxidative stress, because as we have mentioned earlier, the antioxidants and all have decreased in the body. Then there is chances for cancer, atherosclerosis. A lot of people have atherosclerosis in our country. There is heart disease. There is blood is being there is blockage in the artery walls due to buildup of plaque or fat, etc., fatty streaks, etc. And later on it can develop very high to lead to heart attack, heart blocks, etc. So these are also very common in our country. Then cancer, diabetes, all these are extremely common in our country. There is above the age of 50, 60 and all. In every homes we can see that people, they might be taking medications for diabetes, hypertension, etc. Because it's extremely common, especially in Kerala. It is like the diabetic capital, and where everybody in every home you can see a diabetic patient, and it is not even considered as a disease anymore. So all these are the most common diseases seen in elderly population. Now, what are the different dietary guidelines that need to be taken? you know uh, we should be very careful about the diet given to the elderly person. There is empty calorie foods and calorie dense foods. Both should be avoided. It should be a medium level. It should not be caloric deficient, and it should not be caloric dense also. Because if it is very extremely high calorie, what happens is it's very difficult for them to digest, like fat and all. If you are eating a lot of fat and all, they might suffer from indigestion, because they have loss of lot of enzymes and all are missing. So it's very difficult for them to digest and absorb all those complicated nutrients. So it should be on a very normal level. Then foods rich in protein should be given, vitamins should be given, minerals should be given, because all this increases their productivity, increases their immune system better, makes the immune system better, provides all the good functions needed. Then vegetables and fruits should be given, because they are good source of antioxidants. and also fiber also. So then coming to fat, it should be limited because saturated fat and all can be very difficult to digest, and it also promotes weight gain. Then certain foods like gas forming foods like sulfur containing vegetables, certain types of pulses can also should also be avoided if there is a person has any gastric issues. Like in elderly people, the gas forming is a major problem. So because of that, certain foods like certain pulses need to be avoided, but it's only if there is if it is gas forming, and if it is a big problem for them, it should be avoided. Otherwise they need to take all that. Then the food, the consistency, that is also very important for an elderly person, because naturally they can't swallow, they can't chew. So you need to give them very soft foods, well cooked foods. Like if it is rice also, it should be very well cooked. They won't be able to chew or digest foods which are very hard. So all those fried concentrated foods should be avoided. Then caffeine containing beverages should also be avoided, because most of the time what happens is elderly people suffer from insomnia or lack of sleep. They are not able to sleep properly at night. So if they drink a lot of coffee or caffeinated drinks and all, it'll make the problem even worse. So they should not be given much of a caffeine. Then very important is high fiber, like a lot of green leafy vegetables, whole grains need to be included, but in the way that it should be well cooked also, because otherwise they won't be able to eat it. The easily digestible steamed foods are the best for elderly, like idli, idiyappam, etc. So that they can eat it very well without any, there's nothing hard or anything. So idli, it's steamed also, it's healthy, there is not much oil, it's not very, difficult to digest, etc. Then plenty of fluids and semi-solid foods should be given. Like fruit juices can be given, soups can be given, water itself can be given. Then of course salt should be limited, because there is tendency to develop hypertension. Then 2 to 3 servings of low fat milk can be included, because it's a good source of calcium and all other minerals and other vitamins, protein, etc. Then of course in elderly there is a chance that if they are smoking, chewing tobacco, if they are in a habit of that, then it's very difficult for them to get away from it at this age, because they have already grown so old, maybe 60-70 years of smoking or chewing tobacco. It's very difficult to stop at that age. So these can affect the food intake in these people. So that should also be uh, like should be limited. Like if it is like it's very difficult to make them stop it at this age, so this can have an effect in the food consumption. So these are the different dietary guidelines for the elderly population, and those things are what we have to take into consideration. That is consistency, the energy content, the vitamins, minerals, inclusion of all the food groups, avoidance of certain foods like fats, then certain gas forming vegetables, or difficult to digest foods, etc. These are the different things that we need to consider while planning meals for the elderly population. So with this, the lifespan nutrition is over. We can like we have discussed from the conception to old age, different stages. Now we didn't see much about adult, like the normal nutrition for an adult, because it's just common principles, like including all the 5 food groups, eating according to the eating healthy foods, eating according to the recommended dietary allowances, etc. There is not much of a some things to avoid, like it's very general. So that is why adult was not mentioned in the lifespan series. So we have mentioned about the infancy, pregnancy, lactation, preschool child, school going child, adolescence. So all these are different categories which have certain specialities or certain features that need to be focused. Like adolescence, in adolescence there are problems like um what do you say, eating disorders are very common in adolescence. Then when it comes to school going children, you need to talk about the packed lunch, how it should be, etc. So these are the different things that we need to consider for each of these age groups or phases of the life cycle. Hope it is clear to all of you.